In the name of the Father, and the Son, and Amen. In the gospel that we just prayed, it said that one was brought to Jesus Christ who had need of healing, and they described him as demon-possessed. That's the first thing that they used to describe this man. He was demon-possessed. And that differentiates many of the stories that we have, because demon possession was where they could find no organic cause for blindness or his being mute. Maybe the person was afflicted by a psychological problem, and we merely call that demon possessed. Or if we believe the literacy, the literal meaning of the gospel, that he actually had a demon, then it had to have expressed itself beyond his being blind and his being mute. Because we know that there is a condition where people go through horrible shocks, and they will have hysterical blindness, or they will stop speaking. We know this because of the wars that we've had, where men have come back completely sound in their body, and upon examination found that there was no real organic cause for them not to be able to function well, but they had been hurt. So we don't know enough about the background to say whether or not this was a psychological condition or whether or not it was a real demon possession. But the people there, they were certain that it was demon possession, because when Jesus healed him, and by the way, you don't care what type of malady that you are described as having, if there is something at hand to alleviate that malady. You can call anything that's wrong with me by any other name, but a rose is a rose. So if I'm sick, I'm sick. And if you have the wit and the wisdom to cure me, then I'm fine. The Lord cured this man. But people, thinking that this was a true demon possession, wondered, how could he possibly do this? How is it possible that this man, this young rabbi, could possibly do these things? So they surmised that Beelzebub had given him the power and the authority to loose this man from the possession of minor demons. You know, major demons give orders to minor demons. So this man doth not cast out Satan except by Beelzebub. The ruler, or this man does not cast out demons except by Beelzebub, the ruler of demons. My question here has always been, why was this the first response? Suppose we have someone in our congregation who is truly ill, and the Spirit of God comes upon this person, and the person is healed, completely healed. Where then is the joy that we would expect? Why are people jealous of one another and the ascendancy of one another? If you see someone who has finally turned around their life. I told you that I'm leaving early today to go to service in another church. There's a girl who has been my daughter in confession for 25 years, and she was 14 and she's getting married. And I am so happy. I am so happy. And more happy about her than when my own daughter got married. More happy. More happy. And I believe and trust that this will be an enduring relationship. She has distinguished herself in society, and she's finally found somebody that she can love, who is in an allied profession, and I think the union will be great. But I'm telling you how many times her mother came to me and said, "Pray for my daughter, pray for my daughter," because she's now old. You know, it's not something that you would expect that would happen after a person had waited so long. Sometimes it just is a conundrum. Most of the time we think of girls as getting nervous when they don't get married by the age of 30, but it not only does it happen, but it happens well on some occasions. And so I give thanks. Why isn't this the attitude of the Jews? Why was this an attack? You know, why was it they thought first about, wow, what is our position? This individual has arisen in our midst. We were almost unaware of him. He was almost nothing to us up until the time he started his ministry. And he has been a conundrum ever since. Why didn't they say, wow, this is wonderful. This is wonderful. From the fruit of the tree of David, we now have the expectation. This is the one that we've always waited for. If we had some great person arise from our diocese, if the priests were then jealous of his spiritual, charismatic, and supernatural gifts, you know, what would we say about those priests? Well, we would say that they were small-minded, and they were pathetically concerned about their own reputation. We would say that the jealousy in them is a stinking, fetid sore of the soul. We'd say this is a horrible thing, because to have one healer, to have one person who is a thaumaturge, a worker of miracles, to have one person in our midst that could do this. Well, I know that I would funnel all of the people that I had been loath to work with, or the people that I had worked with and I couldn't do anything with, or they had no response for the type of care that I was giving, or people that just confounded me, people that were just a problem. The miracle worker would be working night and day just with my problems, and I would be kissing his feet. Thank you very much. You have restored this person. You have restored that person. Now they are a profitable member in my community. That's a wonderful thing. Thank you. Why wasn't this the attitude? Why did it have to be that he was perceived as a threat? Why? If somebody comes up to you and says, look, I'm going to tell you something. You've been doing this the wrong way. If you only do it this way, you will have a much greater yield. Well, okay, that's fine. You know, farmers are really smart when it comes to this. Farmers plant in the expectation that it will take root and it will grow, but they have to deal with all kinds of pestilence in the form of insects, and they have to deal with the vicissitudes of the weather, whether there's too much rain or not enough rain, or the wind comes up and blows the topsoil away, or whether or not, you know, some animal tramples through the young plants that begin to shoot up from the earth. You go to that farmer and you say, you know what, I'm going to show you a way to increase your work product. They'll say, just like everybody who has a brain in their head would say, bring it on. We have better seed. It's resistant to pests. We show you how to irrigate so that you can decide how much water the land needs and not the weather. We will show you how to put windbreaks so that your topsoil is not blown away. You know, in the monastery, they have horrible winds. I don't know if you know about this, but the way they grow in the monastery is when they excavate a foundation in Cairo, or one of the places close to the Nile. They remove a large amount of dirt. They take this dirt and they truck it to the monastery, because there, after having dug a pit, they put that in the ground where the sand used to be. And now in this good soil that's been taken from near the Nile, they grow tremendous fruits. I myself have eaten for 6 months from the produce of the monastery, so I can tell you that it's very delicious and very good, and it's not filled with artificial chemical agents that grow food that has no flavor, but is large and beautiful to look at. They bring this in, they haul this in. Why didn't then spiritually the people say, okay, he's better than us. He's better than us. You know, it's the World Series time, so I have to bring up something from the World Series. You know, if Big Papi's there, nobody resents Big Papi. Big Papi's fat, you know. But when he goes to swing for Boston, let me tell you, everybody stares at home plate. Nobody is asking for a hot dog, or Cracker Jacks, or popcorn, or a beer. They're looking at Big Papi. And if there are some players that are game changers like him, that are home run sluggers, these guys are game breakers. They are game breakers. Similarly, you have a kid that has a 95 to 99 mile per hour arm. Everybody stares. Everybody stares at the mound. They want to see that pitcher in every single articulation of his athleticism. They want to watch everything. They have close-ups. They have replays over and over and over. They show it on the big screens screens in the ballpark. Why didn't the Jews? Why didn't the Jews simply say, okay, one has risen up amongst us? Why didn't they declare for Jesus the way the Jews declared for David when he rose up in the midst of Saul? Why did that not happen? What happened to the heart of those people? And I'll tell you what it is. It's when jealousy comes because you have lost your own central relationship to Jesus Christ. When you have Jesus, you are not jealous. When you suspect that you do not have Jesus, then you want things around you to prop you up. You want houses, you want degrees, you want money, you want cars, you want jewelry, you want things. Why? It adds to the cachet of your existence. But when you have Jesus, I have everything. I am willing to go into a cave and live. I have everything in my cave. And I've told you this before, you know, the difference between a cell and a cell is this. A prison cell, the man goes in and he finds Satan. And the cell of a monk, he goes in and he finds Jesus. That's all the difference in the world. And it's the same thing with Satan. When you live a jealous and small life, you live with fear that everything that you possess is going to be lost between your fingers, like trying to carry water from place to place. It doesn't work. It's Jesus that is missing. It's the central issue with God that the Jews had, and so therefore they looked for secular identity and secular power to bolster them up. They did not need God any longer. They only needed the power of the temple. And priests are like that too. Priests today are like that. Some deacon was telling me about a priest who had told him, well, you know what, if you had on the black clothes, then you might have a right to your opinion. Can you imagine that? In other words, authority is not any longer defined by the measures that we take to analyze truth. It's only the absolute naked claim to power. I have a black robe, you don't. I'm a priest, you aren't. I'm right, you're wrong. Do what I say, you obey. That's entirely askew. That is entirely askew. Everyone has the right to the truth. Everyone has the right to know. And you will then, having it, be free, as it says in the Bible. You will be free. The truth will set you free. You will have this feeling and this sense of carrying God with you. And that is sufficient. It's the people that do not have God that are the most acquisitive. The people that gain more and more and more and more look, some people are clever and money falls out of the sky in front of their feet. Some people don't have to work very hard and yet they make a great deal of money. But I'm talking about the people that are seeking after these things in order that they may have a position in life. And those are the ones for whom this message is so dire, because they are just exactly like those small-hearted, short-sighted individuals who in Jesus' time did not see the glory of God manifest in Him. And then they made these horrible claims. So, notice how Jesus treats them. Since they had lost their spiritual power, since they had lost their attachment to things metaphysical, He teaches them simply through analogy and the logic therein. If a man's house is divided against itself, how can it stand? And if by Satan I cast out Satan, how can his house stand? Doesn't it make sense to you? How can a country, if it's completely divided, produce an organized front for other people to get behind and be the vanguard for any movement? And the answer is it can't. It's at odds with itself. It's like when disease has entered into you and you are 50% ill. You don't have the health, the salubrity in order that you may be someone who is a leader. At the most, you can hope they don't move too fast so that you can straggle on behind. But when you do not have this health of spirit and this enlargement of heart, where you see what needs to be seen, then you fall into the same category as the Jews of yesterday. May that not be like any of us. May their lesson be something that we take to heart. And may we, when you hear somebody has done something good, you be the first to congratulate that person. When you find out that something nice has happened to another individual, you be the first one to say, "That's great. I'm so happy. I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy for your family. I'm happy for your parents. I'm happy for your relatives. I'm happy to know you. It's a great thing that happened." I go today to this engagement, and I tell you what, I'm going to be happy. I'm going to be happy. Because one of my daughters is now going to be married, and I'm going to be very pleased in this marriage. Glory be to our God, both now and ever, and unto the age of all ages. Amen.